That's stealing. Look here, the devil's in you. Did your mom take you to church? You don't care. You pay for it 5 years later.
What the fuck is this one?
Huh. I wonder why certain places have food deserts. I guess we'll never know. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org, and there's a lot of absolutely crazy and wild news to get into today. As of course, we have the latest developments coming from Moscow, Russia, as of course their case against those monsters just got a lot more interesting, as the former president of the United States faces some interesting updates surrounding his legal court case, as the establishment is setting their eyes on journalists and media personalities now that they're going after full throttle with, as individuals like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are now the larger targets of cancel culture. But will it work? Well, we're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was originally uploaded by 9MMSMG with the caption, "Why even open a business?" A good question, as of course there's a lot of taxes and theft, double theft happening to small mom and pop businesses all throughout the United States that are finding it more and more difficult to survive, as they have the multinational corporations and all the regulations that they push on them on their backs, as well as attorney generals that, of course, just allow this crime to be committed without any repercussions or fear. As, of course, I just also wanted to shout out this older lady that's telling these young men about God and doing the right thing and not stealing. She's the real MVP here. As, of course, it takes courage to speak out against lawlessness, against criminality, something that this older woman has a lot more of than the vast majority of men out there in our current civilization. A civilization that is crumbling, which you could tell specifically by our infrastructure and transportation all around us crumbling, especially if you're flying in a Boeing 737 MAX, as there's stories after stories of the jet literally crumbling in air. All of this as the Boeing CEO just decided to step down, as Boeing, a major part of the military-industrial complex, is facing a major management shakeup, as they also prioritize DEI efforts over, of course, safety. Interesting choice, interesting decision they had to make there. This, as another person who deserves to be shouted out, is, of course, Julian Assange, a man who has fought for the First Amendment, for freedom of speech, freedom of the press, an issue that, of course, will be determined tomorrow, 10:30 UK time, as the British High Court will be announcing the verdict in his extradition case, as this case will be instrumental, especially when it comes to, of course, the ability of journalists being able to actually do real, legitimate journalism. All of this as the man who put him there, Donald Trump, is having his own day in court, as his lawyers now are asking to delay the larger case against him and Stormy Daniels, as we also just got the breaking news that according to the New York Appeals Court ruling, Donald Trump's $454 million bond has been reduced to $175 million. A ruling that many people are calling a major win for Donald Trump, that still has to pocket out $175 million, as the ruling stops a larger financial disaster that the former president of the United States is facing during a key election year, where many fellow Democrats are launching legal lawfare against him, and clearly, according to my own personal opinion, conducting election interference here, preventing the former president of the United States from running a successful campaign, as of course a lot of his time, a lot of his resources, a lot of his money is being siphoned away by members of his political opposition party that, of course, are abusing their positions of power. And at least those court proceedings won't be as brutal as the court proceedings that the 4 men in the Moscow concert attack are facing, as of course, as detailed by the Daily Mail, they are facing a, quote, conveyor belt of torture, as the stories of what's happening to these men is absolutely barbaric, gruesome, as some people argue that it is well deserved for, of course, their larger actions against humanity, as they took the lives of many innocent civilians in Russia during a major event which now the United States is arguing that they actually warned Russia about. Yes, you're hearing that correctly. The Daily Mail is reporting that Putin is, quote, scrambling to save face after ignoring U.S. warning of these attacks, as it also comes out that one of these monsters was actually seen scoping out the venue before the attack. 2 of the 4 suspects have just pleaded guilty. 2 other people that have been alleged to be participants in helping this attack be carried out also have been recently arrested. This, as we also have reports that Europe is on alert as they are keeping an eye out for copycat attacks that soon also could come to other places like France, as the current French President Emmanuel Macron came out and revealed that many such attacks already have been allegedly stopped in France, as the country there is tightening security, which is already at its highest level, following many other countries who are doing the same. As, of course, the foreign policy of bombing countries and then opening up your borders and allowing those people you bombed to come into your country without any kind of system of identification or questioning. It's a really dumb system, and it's a system that the United States currently is practicing. Europe has done it for many years now and is facing a lot of very serious issues, especially when it comes to the quality of life issues that many of their citizens are facing now in response to these very detrimental and reckless policies that seem almost to be carried out deliberately and on purpose. But hey, at least you get to buy a shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com and voice your discontent against this, plus a lot more. As, of course, the shirts that we have here are really important, really thought-provoking. There was previously an anti-war movement in this country that absolutely has been wiped out, and a lot of them have become pro-war. A lot of them have become corporatists. A lot of them have become cheerleaders for the biggest industries that they previously used to protest, but there still is a small group of individuals that think along the same lines like they always did. Those individuals are the real ones. They deserve to be shouted out, and they deserve to be reminded that they are not alone. And that's why getting a shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com is absolutely critically important, and it allows you to conduct your own lazy form of activism. You could get this shirt that reads, "At least we get a pizza party before World War III." Or this one, talking about how, everything in our society is almost a lie. One of my other favorites is this one. And again, I meet a lot of really interesting people here. I know a lot of Ukrainians. I know a lot of Russians. And it's sad to see them being divided and pinned up against each other when, of course, their culture, their people have so much commonality. And because of very bad decisions by executives, because of a lot of lies that they're told, they're taught to hate each other. And I think that's absolutely dumb and ridiculous. And that's why, again, I think wearing one of these shirts does make a difference, does make people believe that they're not alone, but also helps you find like-minded individuals in your community. Whether you're wearing this at the bank or the supermarket or your local farm, which you should be connecting to, as of course there's a lot of problems heading our way in our society, which we talk about extensively on LukeUnfiltered.com and how to counter that, as we're going to have a very special report for members right after this video. And more importantly, in about 3 weeks, we're going to be doing a nature hike just for members. Bring out your shirt because it'll be cool. Everyone just wears one of these shirts and we all go on a huge nature hike. People hiking and be like, who the hell are these black shirted, cladded individuals with very strongly minded political messages on their shirts? We did a lot of these meetups. We usually do them in random places, and there are always a bunch of bewildered people being like, who are these people wearing all these important messages on their shirts, expressing thoughts that I never even was considerate of before? And again, we truly can't thank you for your support on thebestpoliticalshirts.com and on LukeUnfiltered.com. The links are down in the description below, as of course we are not done here with this video, and we have a lot more to talk about, specifically about the larger cancel culture out there in light of the recent news that the UN Security Council just passed a major resolution calling for the immediate ceasefire by the Israelis against the Palestinians in Gaza. This, as the United States decided to abstain from this vote, a major decision that, of course, the Israelis are really not happy about. During the making of this video, we saw the Israelis threaten to cancel their diplomatic trip to Washington, D.C. And now, in the making of this video, Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister that is embattled politically in Israel, just canceled his trip, as he is very unhappy of individuals within the U.S. government calling for new elections in Israel, as well as the United States' ability to refuse to veto this resolution, which, of course, they are not happy with. Now, the United States not vetoing this UN Security Council resolution is a big deal. And it does highlight a larger kind of shifting of the guard, especially when it comes to honest and real talk about Israel, which sadly has been denied to the majority of people, since the conversation usually is hijacked by extremists on both sides. Extremists on both sides that, of course, stop real conversations from happening, as the conversations are getting so serious that even people who used to work together are quitting because of their disagreements surrounding this very key controversial issue. This, as of course, the Daily Wire just recently severed their ties with Candace Owens over what CNN calls, quote, anti-Semitic rhetoric. Now, what was the anti-Semitic rhetoric? CNN didn't point out. The Daily Wire, with their official statement here, didn't say that this was because of a, quote, anti-Semitic rhetoric. Where's the rhetoric? What of it is being deemed anti-Semitic? Well, of course, again, Oliver Darcy here of CNN didn't explain or expand on, only extrapolated what looks like his own personal thoughts and opinions, with very little evidence here other than what looks like a clear smear attack against her for daring to, of course, hold conversations that some people disagreed with. Conversations that I personally found reasonable, I found logical. I didn't agree with all of them, but when you look at her kind of train of thinking, it came from what looked like a very honest and real place. And whether you like her or hate her, it's important to say that these kind of hit pieces against her, like the latest one by Rolling Stone, are absolutely ridiculous, as they're saying that she was railing against Jewish people. No, she wasn't. She was criticizing the Israeli government, especially when it came to their egregious actions, which now even the United Nations agrees with. Are people going to be saying that the United Nations is railing against the Israeli people? No. But why is there an attack on Candace Owens? Well, she's now an independent journalist, and independent journalists, of course, get lied about. Independent journalists get attacked left and right, especially by the corporate media journalists that they are replacing, as, of course, independent journalists now, like Tucker Carlson, are a lot more honest, are a lot more thought-provoking, are a lot more entertaining, and they are essentially taking the lunch money of the corporate media journalists that have done an absolutely horrible job when it comes to, of course, news reporting, as, of course, they usually act on the behests of a lot of special interests, of a lot of very powerful individuals, and they sell people lies. And they have done so routinely, and they have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar many times. And a lot of people, after being lied to repeatedly, are starting not to trust them, and they're starting to trust individuals like Tucker Carlson, who also is being attacked, as now there's arguments against him saying that he's spreading false messages against Jews. Well, is he? No, I haven't seen one incident personally myself of that. And again, a lot of these allegations are just knee-jerk emotional reactions without any kind of emphasis or basis of any actual evidence. Where's the evidence? And if you're going to make an accusation saying that these people hate an entire race of people, I want to see the evidence of that, because if there was, they would be playing it over and over again, but there isn't. And again, a lot of this is extrapolation. A lot of this is trying to set up a chill factor, trying to scare people from even having serious discussions about this, and that's ridiculous in my opinion. Tucker Carlson also recently interviewed Roseanne Barr, another individual that previously was canceled by the mainline establishment, but now is having her own podcast and is having a successful run at that. Now, what are some of the things that Tucker Carlson said that some people are questioning and conflating? Well, I think this statement is one of those statements that I would say is the most kind of opinionated about this whole matter and situation.
U.S. aid, military aid to Israel, and the implied security guarantees, some explicit, but many implied security guarantees of the United States to Israel, probably haven't helped Israel that much long term. It's a rich country with a highly capable population. like every other country, it's probably best if it makes its decisions based on what it can do by itself. And I don't see any advantage to the United States. I mean, I think it's important for each country to make its own decisions. Again, I don't think you can overstate the lack of wisdom, weakness, short-term thinking of American foreign policy leadership. These are the architects of the Iraq War, of the totally pointless destruction of Libya, totally pointless destruction of Syria, and the 20-year occupation of Afghanistan that resulted in a return to the status quo. So like of the Vietnam War, their track record of the Korean War, even going back 80 years, is uninterrupted failures. I just don't have any confidence in those leaders to improve. When was the last time they improved another country?
Important, thought-provoking questions that people should be asking themselves, as there's even mainline political scholars arguing that the aid that the United States specifically gives from the American taxpayer to a lot of the foreign countries actually put them at a larger disadvantage rather than advantage. As, of course, there's even the welfare theory, but more importantly, there's also the theory of course, creating an image and an illusion that the countries are controlling each other. And the United States linking itself so closely to one particular country makes that one country a bigger target than it naturally would be if it wasn't for the United States dumping so much money into it. A question that I think is worth considering, a theory worth talking about, but sadly, we can't have any of that because we have a lot of fake news. We have a lot of emotional, hyperbolic dribble, as Joe Rogan usually likes to call out. A man on Spotify who also is having a lot of these very interesting conversations, and they probably will be going after next. 60 Minutes right now is trying to launch larger attacks against Twitter, where a lot of these conversations are actually happening without any form of censorship. As individuals like Roseanne Barr, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan are doing better than ever, and now Candace Owens joining in the field of independent journalism will be allowed to probably be a lot more prosperous, a lot more important to our discourse than she previously was before. This is how independent media fights and works for you. This is why, again, we sell t-shirts, we sell memberships. We don't have a major corporation coming in and saying, you're going to say this now. Other people do. We don't have that now. We have you, and we're greatly appreciative of you and your support, whether it's memberships on lukeunfiltered.com, whether it's the store. It means the world to us, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys doing that. We've been here for 20 plus years, and we're going to be here for a lot longer with your direct support and contribution. We can't thank you guys enough for that. If you enjoyed this video, and if you thought it was thought-provoking, and if you think we're at a larger kind of conversational, cultural shift in our society where independent journalism now is going to be the best, most strongest force in our discourse, share this video. If you're a black pill doomer and think all hope is lost, press 1 in the comment section below. What do you think is really going on here? Let's decide by public vote and opinion. Thank you again so much for watching. Thank you again so much for being here. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. One more video report right now available for members of lukeunfiltered.com. See you there. Another show, 6 p.m. Eastern today here on youtube.com/wearechange.